Mic'd up.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. We're back.
We're back. Happy thanks for nothing, everybody. We appreciate it. We know you missed us. None of you were normal last Thursday. You were probably wondering what was missing. You were eating and you were happy with your family, or maybe you were unhappy with your family. Depends on who you voted for, I guess. And then you had none of us. You didn't have the Yankees Coast to Coast boys.
Well,
So
they got
we're
to watch the Giants at this time, and that was pretty ugly for
Oh,
those
boy.
football fans.
oh boy.
Then again,
But it's good to be back. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast. I'm with my friend Michael, and yes, I say that with great trepidation. He is my friend, I guess, and I am your friend Adam.
you're their friend. Well, anyhow, as we are on the cusp of the winter meetings next week,
The cusp.
we will continue our what the hell are the
Well, that's a
Yankees doing in the hot
bicuspid.
stuff? What?
Huh? That's a bicuspid. What is a cusp? On the edge, on the precipice.
On the edge. We're on the edge of wetness, as they say. On the Carol Burnett show, that was their spoof of a spoof of a soap opera. Anyhow, we've got a lot to cover today, and we're going to try and chop it up into three big pieces. The first piece is the obvious one, as we talk, what is the state of the Yankee hot stove, which is really one issue at this point. To Soto or not to Soto? And if you're not to Soto, what do you do? And how do you, what do you do to not Soto? And then the second part would be, okay, they signed Soto, and we'll assume a contract for Soto in the neighborhood of $50 million. And what holes are left to fill, and how do you fill them, and what money do you have? And then last but not least is, okay, you don't sign Soto, and now you got a boatload of money. What can you do with that boatload of money to fill all those same holes? Does that make sense to you, Mr. Adam?
It certainly does. I'm glad. We want to try to break it up a little bit so that we can then put it on for those of you who aren't here right now. You can always find us on YouTube, and we're going to hopefully break it up a little bit so that we make it a little bit.
Yes, it is a Yankees Coast to Coast page on YouTube. All of our shows, all more than 1 year's worth of shows.
Wow. We're almost at that past where we started right around a year ago, right?
We started more than a year ago. I think we started in October last year.
October? Really?
Yeah, I think we started during the World Series.
We didn't even celebrate. God.
Yeah, so what can you do? But anyhow, so Adam, do you think the Yankees should Soto, or do you think they should not Soto?
Well, it's funny. Every day it seems to be there seems to be a different feel for it.
I don't care about anybody else. I'm talking about you.
Me, I still think he's going to the Mets. I don't think he's going to the Red Sox. I think that's all media hype, and makes them have a lot of fun on Morning Joe talking about it.
Well, that's the worst commentary. At least, although it was a stupid commentary, but it usually is when it comes out of Chris Russo's mouth. The commentary out of Russo's mouth was he has no sources and no inside information, but he got on with Stephen A. Smith and said, I think he's signing with the Red Sox. And Smith was like, well, you have no sources and no inside information. Why do you say that? He goes, I just have a gut feel.
Got a gut feeling. Yeah,
that's not happening. At least he admitted he had no sources. And Stephen A. Smith jumping up and down. I mean, the guy knows his basketball outstandingly, but he shouldn't be allowed to talk on any other sport.
And I heard him talking on politics the other day. I was what?
I don't evaluate his political talk because I have, who the hell am I to say anything about political talk? But the funniest thing to me is ESPN's about to sign him for another $25 million a year. None of these guys are worth that money. None of them.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's such a
no opinion.
They have to pay so much for rights fees. You know what? You can have a trained monkey and an elephant do play-by-play for the NFL, and people are going to watch.
Onward and upward. Back to the conversation at hand. I do not think the Yankees are going to sign Soto, and the reason is I just think the Yankees will hit the wall or hit their ceiling. Sorry, and our boy over in Queens is going to jump in and will basically take a checkbook, hand it over to him, and say, write in the amount. We've already written your name on it. We've already signed it. Whatever number you want, and I think that's what's going to ultimately happen. I hope I'm wrong. What do you think, Jim?
Personally, I think that the Yankees should go to him before the winter meetings start this week and say, "Here's our last offer. I don't care what they offered," and say, "This is our offer," which I think should be in the neighborhood of 12 or 13 years for 600 million. And say, and if there's deferments, whatever they need to do, and say to Soto, "Listen, winter meetings start tomorrow or Monday. We're out. If you don't sign with us today, we're out." And if Soto says no, the Yankees should come out publicly and say, "This is what we offered. And we told him we need to get on with this before we lose out on other players and don't have the team that we want to have for 2025. And we're done." And come out and publicly say what they did. Yes, they're going to burn bridges with Boris, which I don't really care at this point if they burn bridges with Boris. I mean, I don't care. And I don't know what other free agents are going to think of that. But if the Yankees offer the guy 12, 13 years and $600 million and he doesn't want to take it, walk away. But make your final offer and make Soto make a decision as to the Yankees. What do I think Soto's going to do? I think he's going to sign with the Mets. I also think he's going to Mets. I think despite all this other BS that they talk about, Hampton signed with Colorado because of the schools, and A-Rod signed with Texas because of the blah. It's about the money for Boris. He doesn't care. It's a question of whether or not Soto wants to be a Yankee. If he wants to be a Yankee, what is, yes, I don't have $50 million a year coming my way, but really, does it make a difference if he's going to make $47 or $58 million a year over the course of 13 years? I mean, you're talking about $600 to $700 million. How much, what difference does it make in his life? It's 3 or 4 generations worth of money in the Soto family. So if it's about the money, he's going to the Mets. If it's not about the money, the Yankees, and my idea of giving them an ultimatum and then going public with it is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think I'd like the Yankees to do that because I think that they risk having, listen, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I think I might have talked to you about it or texted you about this, that the baseball MLB cannot be happy with the way last year went. I know we keep saying it doesn't matter, he doesn't care, Boris doesn't care, but they can't. He killed the winter meetings, single-handedly destroyed the winter meetings last year.
He absolutely.
So, and the idea that they hold these guys up until these top players, and I'm glad he got fired by Montgomery. He should have gotten fired by other guys too.
Snell didn't fire him, and then Snell didn't fire him, and Snell got that huge contract from the Dodgers, so it didn't make.
Well, I mean, that's base. He pitched a no hitter. I don't think he gets that no hitter. It happens, So the thing is, to me, it looks. Somebody like that, like Boris, has to be sanctioned for that because I think it really is hurting the hurting baseball.
He's definitely
there is nothing they can do.
There's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing.
But the thing is, if he does it again, I think you're right. This is an area where now he's saying stuff like you hear him in the media saying, "Oh, there wasn't a lot of interest. I don't know what was going on. Why no one seemed to be very interested in my players last year."
He's yelling collusion.
Exactly, and I'm like, wait a minute. There were offers. Some guys, I think the Yankees made some offers on these guys, or they went and showed interest. It didn't happen because he was asking too much money. That's what it is. And and his players weren't that good. They all had problems. Now this guy doesn't have a weakness. I mean, aside, you could say he's not the greatest outfielder. He's not the best base runner. But come on, I mean, who cares? What he does, with a bat is otherworldly.
There was an article about, or a post by somebody that was talking about each of these players when they went to free agency, what their WAR was, and they looked at Harper, Correa, Seager, and Turner, and Soto. And Soto's WAR is like 56, and nobody else is above 36.
Yeah, I mean, there's another level here that they're dealing with, so it makes sense. He's not going to have to do that, but he can do that if he wants. And if I'm the Yankees, I basically say, you're not going to hijack our offseason this year. You have to this point, give us the word, and that's it. And if not, we walk. I think that's what they should do. Will they do it? I don't think so. I think that they really want this. Also, did you hear what Michael Kay said today?
Well, I didn't hear Michael Kay today.
All right. Michael Kay came out and said that he has heard, or maybe he didn't hear, Feinsand heard that the Yankees were given, this is amazing, that the Yankees were given the right of last refusal. They were told that the Yankees he was told that the Yankees are going to get the opportunity that to
Match.
match or better the last offer.
Oh, see, that's to me, that's total garbage. If I'm the Yankees, I don't play that game. I don't play that game at
How
all.
would you feel if you're the Mets? And how would you feel? How would you if you're the Mets? You're being used
Yeah,
in that
absolutely.
case, and that to me that's the worst thing. So I don't think it's real. I don't think it's. I think that's. I don't know where Feinstein. First
And
of
I
all, I
think
don't
the
know
Yankees
why
are losing control of the situation, and you don't
you
want
lose
to lose
control of the
control of the situation.
situation, and you're really undermining your messaging. I mean, what you have no bar. You're losing your bargaining position. You're basically creating a situation where everyone else feels used, and the Yankees ultimately, what Michael Kay said, which is Michael Kay came out and said, if he's the Yankees, he's he feels like this is turning the tide in the Yankees' favor. And I sort of don't agree because I think what's happening is ultimately, again, the Yankees, whether they have the right of first or not, the right of last or whatever you
They
want to
have a
call it,
number that they're going to spend on the
they're
guy.
not going above it. They're
Right.
not
They're
going
not going to
above
go
it.
above it. And the other thing is this: is that worked last year with Judge, or whatever it was, a couple of years ago with Judge. The Giants offered more money, and they
Yeah.
came baca to the Yankees, and Judge took less money to be with the Yankees.
Because he wanted to play with the Yankees.
Right.
That's the
So,
difference.
and
I don't
that's
think
the
this
whole
guy
thing.
gives a hell.
I don't know what Soto thinks. I will say this: Soto has done an excellent job of not saying anything, and Boris has done an excellent job of saying a whole boatload of stuff without saying anything.
Until
But
today. If this Feinstein thing is true, then
yeah,
he
but that's
just
not coming
destroyed the
from
whole.
Boris. I don't care if it's true or not. The Yankees should take control of the situation and say, "Here's our offer. Take it or go away." Yeah, take control of the situation. The Yankees know what their top dollar they're going to pay is, and I don't care. If the Yankees say we're going to pay $600 million today, and then the Mets come back tomorrow with an offer of 612, Yankee fans are going to jump up and down and say, "Hey, for $12 million over 10, 15 years, you gave away a guy." And the Yankee
Mhm.
fans are going to cry. And if I'm a Yankee fan, I don't think that's realistic, because what really happens is you just told the Mets, "Listen, we offered 600 million, and the Mets then were able to not offer 700 million, which is what the Mets probably would have offered if the Yankees were getting the right of first refusal."
Yeah.
So, from that perspective, I don't have a problem. And I really think the Yankees should make a final offer before the winter meetings and say, "We're done. This is
And
our offer." I don't
you
care
heard,
if the
and
Yankees want.
we
If the
were
Yankees
making
want to
fun of.
offer, if the Yankees want to offer 7 billion, offer 7 billion. If the Yankees want to offer 300 million, offer 300 million. I don't care what the number is, but they got it. They can't sit back and wait.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the number is 13 and 600 or 12 and 600, and be
I
done.
think that's way low. They're saying now, someone's saying 750. It's up to 15 years
Yeah,
at
but if
50.
it's 15 years, 750, that's your 50 million, right?
Yeah, there's your 50. But that level, do you think at that point deferral has to come in somehow? There has to be a
Well, 12
deferral.
and 60 is the same thing. It means
Yeah.
50 a year. And he
So I
wants
mean,
opt-outs. So give him opt-outs too. Let him walk away. I mean, it's the whole thing is this: he's going to walk away in 3 years, no matter what team he signs with, because he's going to have opt-outs unless he gets hurt. He's not going
hold on
to.
one second. I think someone's breaking in. Hold on.
Someone's breaking into
Hello,
Adam's house.
company. Hello.
Someone's breaking into Adam's house. So while he is getting beaten and beaten to a pulp, and they steal all of his stuff, I'm going to continue here, and then we're going to talk about.
I'm back. Nobody.
Okay.
We have a very windy night here in New Yak.
Yeah. Well, we got a nice 70-degree day here, so hot.
God.
Anyhow, here's the deal. As we get to the next topic, all right. So we're going to say that the Yankees, as Hal likes to say, whether he sticks to it or not, I don't know. He wants to stay 300 million or less. So let's just assume the Yankees sign Soto. The Yankees right now, assuming the arbitration numbers go where people are predicting, the Yankees have $229 million in payroll and 35 players signed. If they sign Soto for $50 million, that gets them to 279, which leaves them only 21 million to play with. To fix what? So from my perspective, what do they need to fix? First base, clearly. Either second base or third base, if they're planning on keeping Chisholm in the infield.
Mm.
possibly need to fix left field and center field. And to me, even the second most important thing to any one of those would be they need 3 or 4 bullpen arms that are at least 2 or 3 high leverage. And that's going to be the key. Now, the Yankees have a track record of doing well with the bullpen rebuilding, except for the 24 trade deadline. So the question is what can the Yankees do to reduce payroll? Well, the first couple of questions I want to ask is, what the hell did they sign J.D. Brubaker for $1.8 million for?
I don't know.
That makes no sense. That's a
Do
waste
they
of
feel
1.8
they
million.
must love him? Somebody loves him. Somewhere.
Who? The guy's been around for years. He's 31 years old, and he's a mediocre player at best. I mean, is he going to be their first baseman? Really? I don't think so. Then the other contract that they signed, which from a value standpoint, yeah, Grisham, $5 million is the right price for a guy like Grisham, but
Can't stand
really,
that move.
yeah, really,
Do you need the money? Do you need the
I don't know.
guy?
And
Do
if
you
they
need the
sign
player
Soto,
at that
right?
level?
If they sign Soto, do they need to keep him, and would anybody take him? And then the other questions the Yankees have is, okay, so they've got some starting depth, right? They got Cole, Rondon, Schmidt, Heel, Cortez, and Stroman, with Warren and Gomez and Beater and another guys that are coming up, right? So they've got some starting depth. Can they deal Stroman or Cortez to make some more space? That's the first question. So my first, and this is something I proposed in our texts and everything else, is would the Cubs take Stroman back and give up Bellinger, even if the Yankees had to throw in a prospect? And when I say prospect, I'm not talking a high-end prospect. I'm talking about a low, single A prospect that could come back to bite the Yankees in the ass in the years in the future. But it's the Cubs. Stroman has a history with the Cubs. He had 2 decent years with the Cubs, where his ERA was in the lower than 3.5. Yes, he pitched less than 140 innings. And even if the Yankees throw in and say if he meets his 144 inning vesting, the Yankees would throw in $8 million. Not in 25, but in 26.
Mm-hmm.
Would the Cubs do something like that? And then the Yankees would take on Bellinger's 27 million, which would mean the Yankees are getting Bellinger and only paying $9 million extra, which only leaves them with 12, but still they would end up having a first baseman who's an excellent fielding first baseman and center field insurance in case Dominguez doesn't work out in center field.
Well, I like Bellinger for that reason. I do. And I guess the main question is, I think they know he can still play. And he seems to have moved himself away from the problems that he had a couple of years ago. He's set to make what you said, 27 million this year, 27.5?
27 million and 25 with an opt-out. And if he doesn't opt out, he gets 27 again in 26.
All right. So, that it's a lot. But for a first baseman and also, like you said, at the center fielder, it will open the outfield up, and it'll give him. I like his versatility in that regard. Good bat control, doesn't strike out very much, right? So I think the one thing that we're all agreeing with, we do not want someone like Willie Adames who's going to strike out 175 times. No. So what they need are guys we need a contact focused team. So, I feel about trade talk. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I just don't know.
But Bellinger is definitely on the trade block. There's articles that he's out there. And the question is, the Cubs want to save some money. They get to save $9 million by taking on Stroman's 18 this year. And if the Yankees can say, if he vests, we'll give you 8 and 26.
Yeah.
As long as you don't trade him. So they'll give the Cubs the money, but they won't give anybody else the money. Yeah. Then the other question is, or do they just look to dump Cortez, who's probably scheduled to make between 8 and 8.5 in arbitration?
Do you want to listen to Kramer here? Kramer put up.
I would like to listen to Steve Carroll first. How's that?
I like Steve Carroll too.
The Soto, no Soto conversation is interesting. Of course, with him, we're a better team. Without him, we can still be a great team, but have a lot of moves to make. Without him, I would say we move Judge to right, put Dominguez in center, trade Stroman to the Cubs, bring back Bellinger and put him in left field.
Love the man.
Trade with Tampa Bay for Yandy Diaz at first.
And I think he continued. So I'm going to give him his second one as well.
Then we need a third baseman. You can trade for one, or you can sign one. You have to discuss who is available and see where we can go. Without Soto, I would also go after Burns or Fried and get one of those starters. And then we must get a dominant closer, probably via trade with somebody. I'm sure Kramer can give you plenty of names.
I love the man. I agree. Thank you, Steve.
I'd love to. I didn't know he's going to mention Bellinger. I'm so happy that Steve's in agreement with me.
Bellinger's great. I like it. I agree that the I'd like to see them focus heavily on building the back end of the bullpen. And I'd like as I love Weaver, but I don't know if Weaver has
Right.
the pedigree to go long term. So I like Tanner Scott.
But they can't sign Tanner. Like we're talking right now, if they keep Soto, so they can't sign Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
If they keep Soto.
No, this is the alternative.
So continuing down that road, if Soto signs, that means the Yankees are going to have to find lower cost players to fill in some of the spots. Well, clearly, between Chisholm and Durbin and Peraza, you've got second and third base covered. By the way, do you know how the Yankees acquired Durbin?
Didn't they get him in the Lucas Luetke trade?
Yeah. Yes.
That was something
else. This is one of those deals that the Yankees might need to make now that would come back and burn them several years later. Because clearly, if Durbin's anything, the Yankees win that deal big time, even though that was 3 years ago. So, yeah, that would be the opportunity there. And then in the outfield, they're going to have to leave Dominguez in center and move Judge to left and Soto in right, up until when Stanton gets hurt, obviously. And they're going to have to live with Pereira, Grisham, and Cabrera as the rest of their bench, which gives them a lot of flexibility because Durbin also can play a corner outfield spot. So you would have players like Peraza and Durbin and Cabrera who could play all over the infield. And you'd have Pereira, and Durbin and Grisham that could play in the outfield behind Dominguez, Soto, and Judge. That's where you're going to have to save the money, is letting these 6 guys play. And then, like you, I believe the priority in that situation would have to be first base, because you don't have anybody, and the bullpen.
And do you feel, we don't talk about him a lot, but do you think that in a with Soto setup, that Rice has an opportunity at first base? Do they ever give Rice
if they don't get somebody?
I didn't think he was so bad. A lot of people didn't like Rice after it was almost like after the All-Star game when you started to hear that Rizzo might be coming back. And you started to hear, the Yankees need a trade deadline move. They need a first base. It almost like, for a kid, think about this, try to put yourself in the position of a rookie who's already playing out of position. And he starts getting nervous, starts pressing a little bit, and he starts showing his youth. I liked a lot about his game. I didn't think he was embarrassing at first, and I didn't think that. And I thought his at bats were better than most at that point in his life.
I think the sample size was low. There's also one other guy that the Yankees are going to have on the end of their bench, and he could possibly platoon with Rice, assuming that he can actually play baseball, and that's DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't heard anything about him. Is this one we're going to hear about how he's in the best shape of his life?
Oh, absolutely.
Came out
absolutely.
This is 302 pounds of solid muscle.
Oh, he's absolutely. But I mean, he's a right-handed hitter. Rice is a
doesn't matter
that
his foot's hanging off like this when he runs. But
DJ LeMahieu is a first baseman, maybe a third baseman too. I mean, that's about it. He has no range. So yeah, DJ and Rice at first base could be what they do if they want to spend more money on either a rotation piece or the back end of the bullpen. Because if they don't make any type of trade and they can figure out how to get rid of a Stroman contract or a Cortez contract, that frees up more money for them to sign bullpen pieces and or potentially a flyer on a Shane Bieber or a Walker Buehler who would slide into a slot that potentially would be open on the Yankees roster. But yeah, I think there's, the bullpen is going to be really tough to fill, and I think that needs to be the priority if they sign Soto.
Yeah.
I just believe they have so many pieces that are interchangeable and need a shot, and finally they have to give these guys a shot. And then next year, they have the $8 million from Hicks falling off and the $6 million from Rizzo falling off, so some money will free up, and then Cortez will go away. Maybe Stroman goes away, so they maybe find a way to have some money, or maybe they get lightning in a bottle, or they end up with Dominguez and Pereira as their platoon in the outfield. Pereira is a right-hander and Dominguez is a left-handed hitter. Pereira is a good fielder. Of course, he also has an elbow issue. But the bullpen pieces that are out there, obviously, you mentioned Scott. Scott's looking at getting, based on the projections, 4 years and 56, which is 14 per. You don't have $14 million to play with if you sign Soto. You just don't. So the guys that are out there, these are the guys that are out there that are bullpen pieces. You ready? David Robertson. He's still an $11 million guy. Spencer Turnbull, who's an interesting guy because he had a really good season as a swingman starter reliever. He's only at 7. Kirby Yates, who's also an interesting guy to have if you had money, is 14 million. AJ Minter, who both Kramer and I both like, is looking at 8 million a year. Carlos Estevez, who had a good year for the Phillies, is looking at 9 million a year. Jeff Hoffman, who also had a good year for the Phillies, is another swingman type guy. He's 10 million a year. Tommy Hanley's probably in the 6 to 7 range. And then Andrew Kittredge had a fantastic year with the Cardinals, led the league in holds, which means he pitched in closer games, and he's looking at 7 million a year. And then you of course got, do the Yankees take a chance and bring back Mr. My arm always hurts and don't have the mentality to close, Jonathan Loizaga, or Tim Hill, who would be probably less expensive options, as would Jordan Romano, who was a former stud closer who's coming off arm issues, and Colin Pache, who's also got arm issues.
Yeah. What do you think about someone like Devin Williams in a trade?
Well, that's Devin Williams is. If you can trade Devin Williams, you're taking on more salary. He's got $20 million a year or whatever it is.
Really?
I'll look it up real quickly.
Why on earth did they pay him that much?
Because he was one of the stud closers in all of baseball. That's why.
20 million. Good God.
He's a stud. So I mean, that's the pieces that are out there. Oh, I take it back. Devin Williams does not make very much money.
So he's looking at what
Devin Williams is looking
8.4.
at 8.5 in arbitration.
Yeah, I mean that's
very doable, but you're gonna have to give up a lot for him.
You got to give up a lot because he's got how many more years of control?
He's 1 year rental.
He's got 26. He's 30 years old.
Right.
So it's a 1 year rental. So that being the case, will it limit what they're going to have to give, or is 1 year enough to warrant a big? I mean, what do the Yankees have to trade?
Jones's value is down, and by the way, Jones's value is down, and he's not going to be ready to play at the major league level in 25 anyhow. He's a late 25, 26 player at best. Dominguez's value is probably down because the Yankees pushed it down. Peraza's value is down because he had a
Yankees year. Where prospects come to rot.
Yeah, I mean, so you might be able to get him, and the Brewers are looking to save money. So if you look at the Yankees' salaries and the guys, their top prospects, the Yankees' young top prospects, this is why they should have traded Torres for Williams last year. Because it would have been a better deal. So if you look at the Yankees' top prospects, you're looking at guys like, I don't even know who you're looking at right now. They've got a guy named Ben Hess in the minors. That's a potential closer. He's a low level. Chase Hampton is still around. Will Warren. You got Lombard Jr. and Arias are low level, single AA minor league infielders that are out there. So the Brewers are looking to cut payroll, but they're also very good at managing a team to win every year anyhow. So there's a bunch of guys that are out there. Vivas, Yankees got an extra year of options on Vivas and Pereira, which means they can ride the pony Scranton Express this year for another year, even though they weren't supposed to. So who knows? But who knows what the top prospects are going to be and what the Brewers are going to want? They're going to want a lot. I mean, the other option is to look at the Cardinals and pick up what's his name, Halsey or Halsey or whatever his name is, who's not had a good year. But yeah, they're going to have to give up prospects to get a guy like Williams, and at $8 million, they could do that. Mm-hmm. But the question is, do the Yankees have what these guys want? They've got a guy, Henry Lillane, is a left-handed pitcher from rookie ball who's supposed to be really good. This guy, Jared Serna, is played at rookie ball. He's not a very good defender, but he's a middle infielder. They got guys like that are out there. But I don't know what the Brewers are going to want. But they do want to cut payroll, so there's a chance there.
I think that's an interesting move. I'd like to see them really bolster that part of the game again. I thought that hurt them last year.
The bullpen?
I just thought they weren't. I mean, he did a good job. For what it's worth, I mean, we all have to say that Boone drives us crazy, but he did manage the bullpen well in many instances during the playoffs, and he got really lucky with Weaver. Weaver was really the one who stepped up. Canely stepped up. Guys like that. Canely, of course, sooner or later was going to stop throwing strikes. But, I really did feel good about that the end and the way he handled it. But I don't think they can count on it anymore. They need these guys to step up. They also seem to have all these guys, like Loizaga, who, no matter what happens, will get hurt. There's this rotation of guys that get hurt. Now,
Canley was hurt for a good portion of the season.
Canley was hurt.
Efros.
They never got Efros. Did they have Efros at all last year? No. Nope. Maybe they. And then the same thing with what's his name? When they got
Trevino.
They got who never threw a pin. This is the stuff that they are good at, but they need to get these guys healthy and on the mound.
And historically, Cashman's put bodies in there, and Blake has done a good job of building up these guys. So, so the Yankees may do something different. I mean, Hamilton, he was hurt at the end of the year and then got hurt again in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But, the bullpen is going to be tough to rebuild. And, if they can swing something for Devin Williams and swing something for Bellinger, they fill two holes right there that are very big. And they've got some young guys at $800,000 league minimum that are going to fill in other places. And the bullpen will be filled with injury-riddled Efros, Leiter Jr., Weaver, Cousins. Who am I forgetting? Cousins. Who am I forgetting? I don't know. I thought it was amusing that the Mets were looking at Holmes as a potential starter according to the poll.
Have fun with that. Well, can you imagine? Maybe there's no stress in that situation.
We think Rodon throws a lot of pitches. You know how many pitches Holmes is going to throw?
Yeah, no,
it's going to be crazy. So let's let K-Dog in on the conversation.
K-Dog here, with or without Soto, the type of players the Yankees need to diversify the offense are Cody Bellinger, Brendan Donovan, Yandy Diaz, even Carlos Santana. Those are good defenders, acceptable base runners to good base runners, and smart players. Plus, it keeps the Yankees with lefty-righty lineup balance.
And we'll go with the second piece of the K-Dog message.
With or without Soto, the Yankees have to avoid spending money unwisely. This is not an indictment on talented players like Pete Alonso, Willie Adames, and Anthony Santander, but none of those three are a good fit.
So
have you always noticed Kramer's photograph? I'm looking at it, and behind him, it's the old stadium. 19.
Good. I like that. Good for him.
2008.
I'm not looking at it, but I appreciate that more than anything. I will say this: Kramer likes to play in the trading world much more so than you and I like to, and I like it better than you do.
I hate it.
But Brendan Donovan, Yandy Diaz, and who was the other guy that they said? He said Cody Bellinger, and then the fourth guy he was talking about. That's a lot of. Santana's a free agent. So Santana's a possibility as a free agent. He's going to.
I love him. I think that he's one I'm amazed they haven't talked to him more.
Well, I guess see what happens. I think that they're going to go all in on Christian Walker if they can't get get Soto, and that'll do the deal there. That'll take care of first base. Yandy Diaz would end up being third baseman. I don't see him. I see him offensively fitting in better as a first baseman and a third baseman also. And Brendan Donovan, he was jumping up and down about Brendan Donovan for the last couple of years. So good for him on sticking to his guns. I can't believe that the Dodgers paid Edmund $15 million a year to stay with them. That's a lot of money for that guy. And he's not. I agree with him. You can't spend money on Adames for the reasons you said. You can't spend money on Alonso. He's not going to age well. I don't think that makes any sense. But he would spend money on Santana, who's older than all of them, because he's been around forever.
Yeah, but he still can do what he's
switch hitter, and I'd like the idea. So we're in the Soto is on the Yankees world, so it's going to be a challenge to figure out what they can and can't do if Soto's on the team. So as we transition over to the Yankees don't sign Soto and have a whole boatload of money to spend, I'd like to reference a couple of shows here on the Mic'd Up app.
Oh, thank you.
The highlights from Lowlifes featuring our friend Rob Weber and Rob Lannerman and J.C. Penney, among others. Highlights from Lowlifes features a group of San Francisco Bay Area residents that play in the same baseball league as I do, and against us when we go down to Monterey. And allegedly, they're good friends with each other. I think that they're too good of friends, but it is the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's widely okay.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, yes. And when the pandemic hit, they started doing Zoom things, and now they ended up putting it into a show. It's at the cross-section of pop culture and sports, and because they have contacts at a brewery and they don't share any beer with us, they like to drink during their show, which makes it interesting. The other person who has a tremendous number of shows is the Rovner Report. He's a broadcast journalism major from Penn State and works as a client service supervisor for the New York Football Giants.
I love it you say it. Always the football Giants.
Well, you got to say the New York Giants out here. You get a little bit of wacky stuff. He's covering a lot of the New York sports on his shows, and I would assume he's got to stay away from the Giants or they'll fire his ass. But his show is very interesting and informative for those of you from New York. He covers hockey, baseball, football, and a little bit of hoops. And I'm sure he'll be very much upset when Penn State loses in the first round of the NCAA football playoffs. All right, Adam. The Yankees do not sign Soto. They have $71 million to spend. What should they do?
Well, down to players, I think they need to shore up the infield a little bit. You certainly can go after somebody like Bregman, though he has weaknesses. You can go after Walker at first base and afford that. Good player on the long in the tooth side of his career. I like it, but not sure. There's no really beautiful answer there on the infield in options that are available. Again, do not go after. No help getting somebody like Adames in because he'll just mess everything up. He'll step in the way of Durbin. Durbin won't get an opportunity. He'll become a trade piece. Or knowing the Yankees, they'll just let him sit in the minor leagues and come up when somebody gets hurt, not play well, and then be devalued. So the Yankees should go all in on Durbin. Durbin should be their number 9 hitter next season, but I digress. So I think the Yankees need to stay away from anything substantial in the infield aside from maybe Walker at first base. I also like Carlos. I mean, I don't dislike Santana. What did he make? $6 million, $5 million last year. He's 39. What can he expect? A 3-year contract at best? Maybe they can get him on a 2-year with an option. Might not be a bad thing to get him. What do you think?
Well, I think that the Yankees need to be spending wisely, right? I agree with Kramer wholeheartedly. I would still go after Bellinger.
Yeah.
Because then he's your outfield center fielder or left fielder with Dominguez and Judge. Judge goes back to right.
Mm-hmm.
I would sign Walker for 3 years, which is what they're talking about, $3 and $60. Then I would absolutely be the player for Tanner Scott. Give him his 4 years. And then I would look for building more bullpen. I would look at a Robertson or a Yates or a Minter. And to be honest with you, signing all of these guys and figuring out a way to get Bellinger in here and Stroman out still only adds $62 million to $68 million. And you filled out 2 or 3 back end bullpen pieces, first base and center field. You still have room for Durbin and Peraza and Cabrera to be on the team.
Yeah.
And one of them will be the starting second baseman.
Yeah.
And
then what do you think?
And Jazz, the other option is to move Jazz to center field. And
I don't think they like
you're
it.
looking then you're looking at Jazz, looking at building a third baseman. I love Bregman as the player, but I don't the number of years. All of these guys that I just referenced, right? Bellinger would be 2 years at most. Walker's looking at 3 years. Tanner's looking at 4. Robertson's looking at 1. Yates is looking at 1. Minter's looking at 2. These are all shorter term deals. And I like the fact that the Yankees will have that flexibility going forward into the future and not have to worry about anything like that. Whereas, going out and signing a Bregman for 8 years is tying up a lot more money than anybody else is going to have. And I would rather stay away from one of those long-term contracts.
What about flipping the script on on a big upgrade on the offense, focusing more on some strong position pieces, but nobody that's crazy, and then rebuilding and building up the starting pitching. I mean, do they go after Burns? I don't think they should go after Burns at $183 million. That's a lot. No. He's expecting that's crazy. But I think they like Fried a lot. They said they had a really good meeting with him for 6 years at 130.
I like Fried better. I like Fried as a Yankee better. He just reminds me of Jimmy Key and stuff like that. So but Fried's going to be expensive.
130. They're estimating 130 in 6 years.
Right, which is that's 24 million a year or something like that. So what I would do is I would potentially get rid of one of my bullpen pieces. Go for Scott and either Robertson, Yates, or Minter, and then I would see if you can make a play for a Fried. Otherwise, I do like the idea of some of these high reward, high risk guys. I would not give Flaherty 5 years under any circumstances, which is what they're talking about him getting, because he's an injury man. I wouldn't give. And by the way, it looks like Manaea is signing with the Orioles today for 5 years and $90 million.
Oh boy!
But I wouldn't mind going after a Walker Buehler or a Shane Bieber on a 1-year deal at all. If that's something that you have the money to do. I mean, obviously, I think Sasaki is only eligible for any international money a team has. And I think he's going to go to the Dodgers, but the Yankees do have the most international money of any team in baseball at almost $5.4 million. So they can offer him the most money, but he's not coming here. He's going to the Dodgers. But I wouldn't mind spending money on Fried. I wouldn't spend the money on Flaherty, not on Manaea. I don't really want Verlander or Scherzer. And if I had to choose one of those two, I'd choose Verlander because it would make Cole happy. But I think Walker Buehler looked good the second half of the year.
Buehler,
get him on a 1-year deal.
I'm liking it. I'm liking
1-year deal, and Bieber, who's out for part of the beginning of the season, could come in cheap, and you can do him on an opt-out deal if he comes back in the middle of the season. Give him an opt-out if he pitches well. I like short-term deals. So I do have one comment that I got via text that I want to read for you, because I sent my friend Todd Goober information. Oh crap. Todd Goober information. And this is what he said when I said, what about this Chris Russo thing? First of all, he said, LOL, let me tell you, this will never happen. John Henry is cheaper than Bob Kraft. I equate John Henry as an Ivy League dresser with a Yankee football conference mind. Soto stays in New York. He has unfinished business there and shows he can complement and coexist with Judge. Red Sox are JV, Yankees are varsity. What team would you want to play on if you were Soto? He loves the Sox, but they have a horrible product, and there's no way that they're going to sign Soto.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think, and you know what? I personally think he's right about the Mets. I mean, I love the New York Mets. The New York Metropolitans, I love that team, but I don't know why anybody in the world would ever want to play for that team. I don't understand. I think they play in a nice little ballpark. It's appealing, but I think that they are the redheaded stepchild. No offense to redheaded stepchildren in this town, and they always will be. They always find a way to blow it. They never seem to. When they do over, when they over, what's the term I'm looking? They overplay, they overmeet expectations. They always seem to fall apart just at the point where they're supposed to, where they're going over the top, and then they regress. So I don't know why anybody would want to do that. And the only thing that they've got an incredible owner who can spend money, but he's not very sophisticated. Now they've got a good general manager in Stearns, so I think that's interesting. But it's almost like he's the grown up in the room, but all of it just seems that the Mets, I don't know why he'd ever want to play there, because one way or the other, he's going to make more money playing for the Yankees ultimately. He's going to make, there's something about being with this team, retiring with this team, going to the Hall of Fame with this team. You always get invited to Yankee Fantasy Camp. And there's a lot of value in that. Come on. So, I just don't see a reason, but I don't think it's about. You said something earlier that I thought was funny. That to us, that extra. What's it, $50 million when you're making $650 million? Why do you need to go to 700? Why do you need that extra 50? I don't think it is about the number, the money, and what it buys. I think it's the respect. These guys live and die by the sense that they are doing something that nobody's ever done before. And this is part of their hyper competitiveness, probably that makes them great, is that they feel the need to be to one up each other. You don't think he's going to get a kick out of the fact that he's paid almost twice as much as Judge? When it's all said and done.
I guess this is why I retired without the FU money, and what I mean. I could have kept working and made more money, and I was like, I don't have the FU money, and I retired. But I don't. At a certain point, you can't. If he takes all the money and goes to the Mets, I don't want to hear him say he's all about winning. I don't want to hear. You know what I mean? These guys keep talking about they're all about winning. They're all about winning. With the Red Sox situation, I wouldn't go to the Red Sox because they don't contend every year.
The Red Sox have a problem.
They're a yo-yo team. They're
a yo-yo team.
Do I think they could afford him? Do I think he'd be successful there? Do I think that he would win there? Yes, but he would also lose there.
The Red Sox have no respect.
Right? Can you trust them to keep the team at a high level?
They'll blow it up whenever they find themselves when they hit the ceiling. They feel they're not getting any better. They blow it up. Their answer to everything is get rid of Mookie Betts. Get rid of Xander Bogaerts. I mean, the guys that you think about if the Yankees got rid of the Yankees have a bad season in 97 and don't win the World Series in 97, and they said, you know what? They blow it in 2001. They lose the World Series at the end. They start to show some signs of weakness. We're gonna trade Jeter. It's like
they're gonna get rid of Tino and O'Neill, and that'll be what they'll do.
I mean that's what I mean. They get rid of, and I feel bad for their fans. Because their fans feel they are a great fan base, and they deserve. They've gotten very excited and they love their team, but they can't feel very confident the team's going to be good year in year out, and they aren't.
And as to the Mets, I think, and we'll get to my friend Matt Shell, who's a Met fan who just chimed in. But I think with regard to the Mets, I think they have a nice setup now. I think
offense.
If Cone listens to Stearns, they're going to be in good shape. I really do feel that way. I mean, look what Stearns did in a limited offseason last year. And Hefner's getting a reputation as a good pitching coach because look at Severino's contract with the A's. And not to mention now Manaya's got another contract with the.
Where did that come from?
That came from, well, it's a little bit higher than they expected for Severino, but the A's have to spend a certain amount of money to stay in the revenue sharing.
Why are they doing it? Why did the Mets? Why do they feel they need to?
Because the A's have a thing for former Yankee starters, Caprillion, Sears, Severino. What's the other guy's name that hasn't pitched? They all get hurt. It starts with a W.
What the Witasics, and there's
Yeah.
Sears, there's all these guys.
All these guys. Yeah, all these guys are former Yankees. But,
Oh,
I actually think the A's are going in the right direction. But this is not an A's show.
Are you going to go? And you're moving to Sacramento to work for them, aren't you?
Yeah, for 17 to 14 an hour. That's what I'm going to do. So anyhow, let's see what my friend Matt Shell has to say about Soto. See if he even chimes in anything about the Mets. I don't know if he is.
Hey guys, if the Yankees want Soto and Soto wants the Yankees, he should sign there. I don't think the Mets should be dropping $300 million more on Soto than they gave Lindor. I think it upsets the team fiscal chemistry. Believe it or not, I think Cohen hired Stearns for a reason, to get value out of his contracts. I like the 2, 3, 4-year contracts. They got burned a couple of years ago when they signed Scherzer and Verlander. Not again.
Interesting. I
love him. He's right.
And Scherzer and Verlander were short contracts. They were 2
They
years.
were terrible deals,
but they were so much money.
But they ended up doing well, though. It was a smart move to dump them and then turn around and pick up.
They made the playoffs. They traded them both away and made the playoffs. And the two teams that they traded them to, one didn't make the playoffs, and the other barely lost in the first round. And both of those guys got hurt. So the Mets ended up, even though they were paying a boatload of money to those guys to not play.
And I don't know who they got. I'm sure they got guys.
They got Acuna Jr., baby Acuna.
I mean, they love him. They love him.
Yeah. So the Mets did a good thing, and that's where Stearns is going to, Stearns is going to go. They signed Scherzer and Verlander before Stearns got there, and then they turned around and signed Quintana, Severino, and Manaea last year, and that worked out well for them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm big on the short-term contracts. Same with Mr. Shell. That's why I like the idea of going for a Walker or even a Santana, because they're going to be 2 or 3 year deals. I like the idea of taking a high risk, high reward contract for a guy like a Buehler or a Bieber. And it'd be fun to have a Buehler on your team, because they could just play that every time. Buehler. And since there's going to be tariffs, that's an appropriate thing, because that's what he was talking about when he was yelling Buehler. So I like the idea of those things, and I like the idea of a Christian Walker better than a Bregman, only because I don't want to pay Bregman all that many years. Damas, I don't want to give him 6 years and 160. I don't want to, I think it's a crazy contract. I don't want to give Bregman 7 and 180. I don't want the money to be tied up. I want the Yankees, when Stanton leaves in 3 years and his contract's up, I want the Yankees to have a boatload of money to be available for guys that are going to hit free agency, or to take on contracts of guys that the teams are looking to dump, that are good players still. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
actually think they should just hire me already and call it a day. I'm sick and tired of them not taking me when I apply for these jobs.
I'd send you a reference, man. I know, whatever it's worth. But seriously, I'm hoping we're wrong. I really would love to see him come back. I'd like to see it. I'd love to see Soto. It would be wonderful. I think that he would be. It would be wonderful, great to watch, to see the two of them back to back for it would be another 8 years?
7, 8 years, yeah.
And then he becomes captain of the Yankees afterwards, and
No, I don't think he would ever become. I think it would go to Volpe, but that's a different story.
Well, I mean, Volpe's got a long way to go before he's in that.
Yeah, I did watch a little MLB Network this morning. I watched a little MLB Network this morning, and I couldn't believe Harold Reynolds saying that they should sign Adames and move Volpe to second base. And don't these guys know that you can't have a 170 strikeout guy signed for $40 million, $30 million a year?
There's still this mindset that he makes up for it in other ways. And
well, he was the heart of the clubhouse for the Brewers, and he is a good player, but he doesn't fit with what the Yankees need. I mean, if Luis Arraez is back on the trading block like they say he is, he has a 346 on base percentage and a 390 slugging, which is still 730, which is above average. I wouldn't mind having a guy like that sitting in the lineup to be on base 35% of the time, behind or in front of Judge and Soto. Because right now they don't have a leadoff guy. I mean, they just don't.
I don't know why they don't put. Why don't they put Jazz there? I mean,
He's going to see fastballs, and that's what he likes. So we'll see what happens.
I like I said, Durbin 9. Jazz at first. I don't think that. I think Volpe 8. I see Volpe 8, Durbin 9. That would be low pressure situations for them. A lot of the guys they're on base a lot. They're going to steal bases. They're going to double steal. Think about a double steal when you're 8 and 9 guys with the leadoff man coming up.
Right.
That means you've got
Volpe
him
and Durbin are on first and second, and they steal second and third.
and they steal second and third. If you don't get if Jazz doesn't get him, you've got the 2,
Soto
3, and 4
Judge
guys.
behind, yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, that's it.
But so I think it's going to come down to how far Hal will go, how far Hal's going to go.
I think 300 is his limit on Schlissing Grubin, and 300 million is all he's going to spend. I think in reality, he might go over 300 million if he signs Soto, because that might be the only way to rebuild some of the things they want to do. But it is going to be below 300 million for sure if they don't sign Soto. But I do think they need Soto to make a decision by Sunday.
When do you find out? When does he say? Do you think it'll be a big moment? It'll be a press conference at the winter meetings on Tuesday. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, or they could open the winter meetings with a Soto signing.
I mean, Boris is such a putz. He said there's nothing imminent. What does that mean?
It's just
for him that means today.
It's I'm surprised he didn't come up with another rhyme or a stupid reference that he did. But he knows that Alonso can't do anything, and it's a client of his. Mm-hmm. He knows there's some trepidation with regard to Burns, who's a client of his.
Yeah.
There's some people who are holding their money back. The Mets would certainly go after Burns if they don't get Soto. But if they get Soto, they might look in a different direction. So, I mean,
what do you think about the Mets Montas pickup?
I like it. I mean, I like Montas. The question of whether or not he's healthy, but it's only 2 years, right? Wasn't it 2 and 34? Yeah. So it's fine. And, Cone doesn't care about the money, so it's fine. But, if it was the Yankees, I would have preferred the money go to a Buehler or a Bieber, because I think they have a higher upside than Montas, even though they probably have more risk than Montas, although Bieber probably does. Buehler, I think, is a safe one. I think Buehler is. For some reason, I like Buehler. I don't know why.
I just think the Mets are going to have to do. Mets starting pitching is Senga, Montas, Peterson, Blackburn, and McGill.
Right. They need starters. It's not.
They need a starter. They need a brand in that. They need a brand.
The other thing is this: is if Minaya is going to the Orioles and Severino signed and Snell signed and Kikuchi signed, right? There's starting pitching market is moving a little bit, and really the only two left standing without chairs right now are Burns and Fried, and the Mets need to get one or both. And that
they can afford both. If they don't get them. Here's the question: if they get Soto, do they still go after Barrett?
Right. If they get Soto, they could still go after one of them. If they don't get Soto, they'll probably go after both of them, and they have to bring back Alonso if that happens. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Mets do. But I think Boris realizes, one, how much higher is the money going to go for Soto? Because I know he's going to go top dollar. And at what point does Boris say to Soto, I don't think it's going to go any higher? Plus, in the back of his mind, Boris needs to know, you know what? He's holding up everything, and that includes my guys.
Mm-hmm.
At what point is there a conflict of interest also for Boris? I mean, he's not a lawyer, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But, if I'm Soto, is he going to push me into a contract before I'm ready to sign a contract so that he can get his other guys signed? I'd be curious as to that. I mean, at some point, it's really odd. Last year, clearly, he had to change his structure on how he did things because of what happened to Montgomery and Snell and Martinez. So he's going to get these guys signed. And I do think he might have him sign right at the beginning of the winter meetings so that the winter meetings can open with Boris at the forefront. And the winter meetings will close with Boris at the forefront when Burns signs. And he will get the back and the front end bookends for the winter meetings will be Scott Boris. How's that?
That's interesting. We've got something here.
What do we got?
We have Mark Caro.
Yes.
That's only Soto to Boston. Better not. Still hoping New York Yankees.
Okay.
So he's saying he thinks it's going to be Red Sox. It just can't be. It would be horrifying. So thank you, Mark. That's the other Carroll brother. There are two of them, as far as we know. And that's about that. And look at the time. It's 8:00. I think we are done for the evening. What do you say? Do you
I
have any
say
other?
yes.
Would you like that? Here's the feeling. 1 week from now, when we meet, we will have an answer on the great Soto.
I think we'll have an answer on Soto. We'll have an answer on Walker. We'll have an answer on Bellinger. We'll have an answer on either Burns or Fried by Friday.
Great. By this Friday or next Friday?
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
No, not tomorrow.
Next Friday. Okay. All right. So that's going to be great.
Oh, we'll also have a Devin Williams answer by next Friday as well if he's staying with the Brewers.
That would be great. I would love to see it. Again, I like that move. I would really like to see the Yankees find a way to make that happen. I'm not a trade guy, but I do like that. So, all right, my friend.
All right, ta-ta for now.
We talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.